This character is contentious because there's supposed to be another character that's in her place. All of this character, all she did was whine and complain, and she gets a dragon. Whereas Nettles was a regular person, not a Targaryen, who went out there and tamed a dragon, proving that you don't need Targaryen blood because you take away a big facet of this story. Another thing about this character that drives me nuts with her and this dragon, she is a massive coward. She is so scared of this dragon, which is understandable considering what happened to like other members of her family. But at the same time, you must understand that when you approach a dragon and try to get on it and ride it and stuff, you need to chill. We just saw in the dragon pit somebody who was not chill get their ass eaten because they weren't. The fact that Sheep Stealer is so like okay with her screaming and hollering and ordering him around, I don't get it. I don't know why this dragon likes her. The dragon even tries to feed her. The dragon even feeds her at one point, which is like, are you kidding me? Why doesn't the dragon just eat this chick? And I don't want to hear because she's a Targaryen, because of what happened to her aforementioned family. One of the biggest problems that dragon riders run into is that they're usually royalty, which means that they can't go around gallivanting on dragons because you'll end up like Aegon or worse. And then you'll have a succession issue, which Aegon has two kids, if I remember correctly. Why does Aemon automatically become king? I guess just because he said so, and he was the prince at first, so whatever they say goes. And we see that happen also later with Jace. So I guess there's a precedent for it, even though it's a stupid one, and would make usurping the throne incredibly easy. Why doesn't Daemon just show up and go, I'm the king now. You can't say I'm not because I'm royalty. One thing I gotta give Broken Bones is that that dude knows how to survive. He's the only one playing the Game of Thrones right now. I mean, Aemon, I guess, is very obviously playing it, and so are the other High Towers. From a perspective of somebody who's not at all in the royal family, he is playing the Game of Thrones. I bet Littlefinger like read his memoir and was like, "This man is a fucking genius." And then we have Queen Rhaenyra, who I've only recently started falling out with, and that's just because like she's making dumbass decisions, and I get it. She's stir crazy. She feels like she's trapped in her current situation, like she can't do anything, even though she's the queen. But when you're royalty, you kind of can't physically do anything, especially when you're in a situation like hers, where yeah, she has heirs, but the only one that's old enough to rule with a capable enough dragon, well, I mean, until the end of this episode, is Jace. So it kind of screws everything up. It's like, damn, if you go out there and do these dumb plans that your enemy has handed you, you might just walk into a trap like an idiot. Your new epitaph is going to be Rhaenyra, dumbest of her name. Do you want that? No. Then maybe don't walk right into traps set by your enemy. Turns out this probably wasn't a trap. But okay, how you know? How you know for sure? Yes, Alicent wants her son to fuck off, but of course she wants him to fuck off. That's why she probably wanted Aegon to still be there. She wants to protect the realm from Aemon, which yeah, he's a little bit unhinged, and we get to how unhinged later, and she learns that too. But we're not up there yet. We're just here where Rhaenyra decides, oh, Alicent has to be telling me the truth. When has she ever like lied to me before? She risked so much to come out here. Again, how you know? How do you know they didn't just let her waltz out of the castle and go, ah, she won't do anything to me because I was her best friend once upon a time? Trust. Everybody in this council is dumb. And if anybody here has a brain in their head, Rhaenyra just kind of shouts them down. So nobody's going to get hurt or get a word in edgewise because Rhaenyra is so thirsty to be the ruler of this kingdom. Like she wants to control her council instead of listening to their council. She's already made up her mind as soon as she comes in the room to talk to them. So it's kind of pointless for anybody to even raise any concerns or anything because she's not going to listen. Which is why Jace feels like he has to lock her up. Although Jace goes and does something even more stupid. Nobody here is free of stupidity. When you're stir crazy, when you feel like you have no actual power, when you are the seat of power, I get all of it. Trust. I get all of this. It just doesn't make the way she behaves any smarter. Especially when her advisor, who she has to like advise her, is telling you stuff and you're just like, nah, I know Alicent. Yeah, did you know her enough that you knew she was gonna marry your dad? I love the way the scene begins. Walks into the castle and they're like, "Oh, my queen, the king wants to see you." So she starts heading to the like to Aemon's bedroom because he can't sit on that throne. He's too weak. She walks in, Aemon's sitting there. We also don't know if Aemon got cut or nicked by this throne by sitting on it. He just is chilling, holding his sword, looking like a badass. And I assume he was sitting there all morning, waiting for his mom to come back, smoking a cigarette in the dark style. And where were you? And she was like, "Oh yeah, I was camping because it sucks. Everything sucks. So I went out there to be among the beasts." And she tries to convince him to get the hell out of there and go to Harrenhal, where Daemon is. If Aemon goes to Harrenhal and takes it over, that is a safe place for him to hang out. He is kind of in the line of succession, even though I would say that Aegon's kids should come first. He just kind of decided I'm the king and then was. It takes a while, but she eventually convinces him to fuck off and go to Harrenhal. Leave the castle open for Rhaenyra to just kind of waltz in. Rhaenyra's attention gets focused on something else, and she completely neglects all her other duties. So much so, her son goes, "That's it, I'm locking your ass up." First of all, nobody told Jace that there were 3 dragon riders just lying in wait, just chilling in the cut, being taken off the table to wait. The problem is now you run into the dragon riders not being trustworthy, especially Ulf. I love that the roles are reversed here between parent and child, where Aemon's like, "Where were you, mother?" and Allison's trying to get him out of the house, like she's trying to run a house party or whatever. Technically, she is inviting her girlfriend over, which is very funny. I love how quick Aemon loses his aura too. Like, he's so cool here and badass in front of his soldiers, and then when he's alone with his mom, he absolutely isn't this. Earlier on in this scene, which I can't show you, the lions that the Lannisters have brought to fight on this battlefield, they don't fare too well, which is probably why there's not many lions left. By the time of Game of Thrones proper, lions are extinct in this area, and this is probably not helping. But Daemon is faring better than them, and of course the symbolism is very apparent. And I love how not only is Aemon not having a bad time here, he's damn near sleepwalking through this entire battle. He's just like, "Yep, going through the motions." Imagine now if Aemon would have descended with Vhagar right at this moment, right after all this stuff. Maybe Allison had a point. Genuinely though, big criticism. Whoever's idea it was to have this fucking motion blur nonsense all over current television, I want them fired from Hollywood in general. Get them out of there. You didn't need this shot to have him be mysterious when he approached. You could have continued the shot of the back of his head all the way up until he got to Daemon. You could have even lingered on this shot. You didn't have to do the weird motion blur thing for him to show up. It felt so inauthentic and took me right out of the scene. And because of the weird motion blur nonsense, even the background is blurred. So, like, right behind his head, where you should be able to clearly tell that those are Stark banners, and you can still clearly tell that they are, but they should be a lot more crisp. It doesn't need to be this blurry. Eye focus blur is not this bad. You'd be able to tell that these guys were the Stark old men that come to die. They usually join up in a fight so that they don't have to take resources from their family because it's hard up there in the north. And Matt Smith is delighted by this. Another point for Team Rhaenyra. This scene is pretty much just here to reinforce that Kristen Cole's an asshole and a piece of shit. It looks like also that he's painting more dots on his shield to denote how many men he's killed, or how many important men he's killed. I can't remember exactly, but I think that's what he's doing. I think they're not little dots. I think they're pieces of coal. Because I think he's like Kristen Cole, right? Like literally Cole. Sworn Paladin Christian Cole over here doesn't even care that his men are horrible beasts. His boy here is like, "Hey, can you tell the men to stop being horrible beasts?" And he's like, "What's a little bit of horrible beasting? YOLO, am I right?" And it's like, wow, you are a piece of shit. You get laid once and you let it ruin your whole life. Many such cases. But Ulf here tells his villain origin story and says, "Hey, I don't got to deal with that shit no more because I got a dragon. And we shouldn't even have to deal with sitting here anymore because this is boring and lame." And genuinely, I get it. That looks like the most dull shit of all time. However, he could spend the time bonding with his dragon. I think going stir crazy is the reason a lot of the bad things happen in this show. Is that people don't get out and stretch their legs enough. I think the true message of this season is to go outside and touch grass. This is what being cooped up does to a motherfucker. They also explain to Ulf that becoming a knight doesn't automatically get you a castle, bro. Like, yeah, you'll probably be able to afford a nice house, but if you're a knight, I'm assuming that, like, if you're any knight worth his salt, you live on the grounds of the place you're a knight for, right? Or if you're a high ranking knight, I'm assuming, a dragon rider would probably get a nice manor somewhere. God, you don't need to have a nice house to get chicks. You got the dragon. Think about your own logic. And another thing that'll help you get chicks, a bath. Taking a bath, and this is my advice for everyone, take a bath, you will get chicks. It works. It works a charm. Interesting to know though that Ulf didn't always believe his own hype. He knew that it was probably bullshit. But when he found out, oh shit, it actually was true. Again though, it might not be, but the whole Nettles being replaced with a Targaryen thing really kind of screws that up. Like at this point, you just have to believe that Ulf actually is a Targaryen and not just that this dragon took a fancy to him because he's wild and weird. Also, don't you need to know High Valyrian to be able to control a dragon? Or even speak to them? How is Ulf going to do any of that? Unless people are actually teaching them High Valyrian. But then again, I get it. He has a big weapon. He wants to go out and use it, right? He wants to play with his new toy. Another thing I've quite enjoyed is Alicent's acting like she's a bad actress. What I mean by that is, whenever anybody asks her a question, she's like, and she completely comes up with a bullshit lie that you can see right through. And I wonder if the other characters can see through her crap as easy as we can. Because here she tells her daughter, I'm really worried about the knights out there. And her daughter's probably like, yeah, I bet you're worried about Christian Cole. I know what you guys were doing. I saw it. You're not just worried about them because you're being like a pious woman who cares about her people. No, no, no. You have ulterior motives with at least Christian Cole. Something else is up because you want him to leave so bad and you're so scared about this situation now. Helena read him to rights and said he's scared now. He wasn't scared before because he had Vagar, but no matter how big you are, if there's a ton of people coming at you, it ain't gonna be great. Like, I'm sure Aemon knows that too, especially since he doesn't have any allies because he's an asshole. I think now he's realizing, shit, being an asshole has probably fucked me, and it's not all about physical strength or how big your dragon is. Also, remember, Vagar's old. Vagar's grandma. She ain't as spry as those youngins. But another scene here where Alicent, and she even does it later, where her son gets weird with her. She has a whole face journey that like there's no way he didn't notice it. I love how good she is at acting poorly. That's a sign of a good actress. There's this really rough scene to watch on Father's Day with Corlys and his son, where Corlys kind of wants to give his son the world, but you miss all the shots you don't take. And one of the shots here is he could have given his son a title right here, and I feel like he was. I feel like he wanted to give him the title right here, but it's his pride, you know? Also, what would the men think if nepotism was the reason any of this was happening, even though the men probably know? Having it being a formal thing is probably going to not have the men trust much in this guy that only is in his position because he's your son. Even though I think he's here because he's damn good at his job. Lohar is my pirate king and I'll fight for her to the ends of the earth. I just want everybody to know that. She's fantastic and I love her. All she does is aura farm this entire episode and she ends up being the best character in the whole episode. At least I think he's dead. She told him not to wear all that heavy ass armor. I'm gonna go after the sea snake's castle, take all his shit, eat his food, and he ain't gonna have no choice but to follow me. And then once he leaves, it's easy pickings. The incredible order and the wildness of the ships juxtaposed is awesome, and I loved watching this fight. This was legitimately a dope ass pirate battle. I haven't seen something like this, I think, ever on screen. But then again, I haven't seen any of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, so I'm pretty sure they're like this. But outside of that, when have you seen something like this? I think what we need is more pirate content. And I think there's a show like this, I think Black Flag or something like that. When we do fantasy stuff, we focus a lot on everything else. When we do fantasy things, we focus a lot on battles that take place hand to hand. So this was really cool, and I loved hearing all the pirate talk, and I loved watching everything happen. I also love the sped up pace of this kind of naval combat because if you watch like a army film and you're watching actual like modern day admirals do like water combat, it is not nearly as exciting as this. So I was holding out hope that the dragon would actually spurn her and be like, nah, you were screaming that entire dragon ride. No way, me and you ain't compatible. Watching the dragon pit scene and seeing people who were afraid absolutely get mauled This pissed me off. This really did. I don't know. It just made me mad. And it makes me more mad that she fucks up everything later. And I'm thinking maybe you're not supposed to like this character. Maybe I'm justified in thinking that she's annoying. I do like how the dragons move in this. I do like how the dragons move. They look very natural and very realistic, and they're lit really well. Her face journeys during this kiss is the only good thing about this kiss. Everything else about this is horrendous. No, I don't want this. Nobody wants this, but he's like, look, it's as good as any. I need an heir, and I love my mommy. Ah, awful, horrendous. Especially when she tells him that he should have been king in the first place, buttering him up, you know. I think I'm right about him knowing that she's full of shit. Maybe the kiss is more of a test than anything to see how she'd react, to gauge how real or fake any of this is. But I don't know about you, but if I kiss someone and they looked at me the way she looked at him, I'd go, oh, shit, I've made a grievous error. I love her so much. I want her to win. I want her to sit on the Iron Throne. I don't know. I don't care. She's great. 100%. Her or the good Admiral. I want either one of them to sit the Iron Throne. Nobody else deserves it. If they give out Emmys in the shape of little Iron Thrones, I'd give her one. That's the one that she needs. Custom make her one. Melt down the Emmy and forge one that looks like the Iron Throne. I love the shots in this show. They're always so well composed. Except for that one with the blurry motherfucker. Rhaenyra gets word that, hey, shit's popping off. And Rhaenyra's like, word? Let me go get my shit. Let me go get my Glock. Let me go get my gear. Let me put my Vaseline on. And while she's going to get the Vaseline, her son locks her in her room and goes, nah, you can't leave. Also, guard, I'm the prince, so I'm ordering you to not let her out. I think a queen's orders trump the prince, but the prince's logic was, you're protecting her, right? From herself. Sorry, once you start locking up royalty, as royalty, you need to do something about that. But Jace pays for it with his life, so don't worry. He realizes real quick that his decision was a fucking stupid one. The problem is, he's cost Rhaenyra a dragon, an able dragon, by sending him into the fucking lion's den. Why would you send a dragon into that situation where everybody has harpoons? I have no idea. But then again, Jace is dumb. He has no experience. He has no idea what he's doing. He just ran out there half cocked. Granted, Rhaenyra was gonna do the same shit, but at least she has a little bit more experience. If I was Rhaenyra, I would have taken the advantage to, while they were fighting over there, to go and attack somewhere else. But that's just me. I wouldn't have gotten involved in this either. Harpoons, girl, harpoons. But maybe dragon riders think that their dragons are invincible, and even if they take a harpoon, they're gonna be good. Jace's dragon does take a harpoon and is okay. Scenes like these where we're on the dragon with the Targaryen, they look pretty good. Although here, the dragon and Targaryen we're with are fucking everything up, attacking their allies, attacking other dragons, just making a goddamn mess. Good job. Good job with this. What were you even planning? Were you planning to join this war at all? Or were you just trying to go to Dragonstone and fucking Sheepstealer got too interested in burning ships? Like, what is going on? Does he know High Valyrian? What a grievous error she's made. I don't even think her host knows that she's gone. Which is another problem because she was kind of a bargaining chip. That shit's gonna stick with me forever. This, though, was that, but funny. What if that scene was hilarious? Because, I'm sorry, Jace kind of did all this to himself, and watching him sink beneath the waves after being shot like a fish in a barrel, I don't know, it was just really funny to me. It was supposed to be like, aw, everything ended and the fighting has finally come to a calm. Rhaenyra is screaming in her own room, and they just don't want the literal ruler who has a claimant to the throne rushing off and dying. This is how you madden a Targaryen, I think. Man, when she finds out her son's dead, heads are gonna roll. I'm actually really interested to see where this goes because even though all the characters are stupid, I want to keep watching this regime crash into the side of a mountain. How y'all get things back on track after all this? The Sheep Stealer storyline was annoying, but I think the way they tied it in here, you're not supposed to enjoy any of that. You're supposed to be boiling with rage by the time this episode ends, I think. But in a positive way, in a way of, I need to know what happens next. How do they get out of this? So yeah, I'm definitely intrigued. Last season, I was a little bit teetering on whether or not I wanted to continue watching it, but this episode won me back. I like this a lot, actually. Thanks so much for hanging out and listening to me yap about it. And what we learned from this episode is, hey, sometimes Being cooped up makes you crazy. Being cooped up makes you a Targaryen. Go out, touch some grass, don't kiss your relatives. I love you.